Welcome to the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. I'm your host, Marc. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. The podcast is here for people on the open mic comedy circuit, whether you're a comedian, an MC, a promoter, a tutor, in fact, anybody who has any involvement in this industry. Or if you're a comedy fan who really does enjoy spending their time in pub basements seeing the possible stars of the future. Even better, if you want to join the open mic comedy circuit and you want to know what to expect, this is definitely for you. Today's guest is someone I've shared a stage with recently, an improv stand-up comedy writer, in fact, discussing random topics like unlimited shrimp buffets, 24-hour bars for Jews, and delving into Hitler's religious background. He runs his own comedy night in North London called Square Go. Please welcome to the stage, Imran Hafeez.
How's it going?
It's good, mate. How's it going for you?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I was just gigging last night, actually, at Backstreet Comedy. Yeah, that was a wild night. Yeah, I could tell you about that actually before we kick off with like myself, just because it was just fresh in my head.
Go for it. This
Give you a
has
glimpse of
no script.
what could happen. I'm sure Paris won't mind that I'm sharing. He's going to be blasting it all over Instagram and YouTube. So basically, last night we had a heckler, and it was and the girl. Like, so this group of girls, they were all like kind of chatting throughout the night now and again. Kind of not that annoying, but just kind of, we had to keep kind of pointing over to them and be like, hey, what are you guys talking about? Like the MC had to keep doing that because that's usually the MC's job. But then Paris, who runs the night, he came on and basically he was trying out new material. And as a comic, when you're trying out new material, you are trying to feel it out. You're trying to figure out how to timing of stuff, and he has a guitar, so he's also like stringing things during it as well. But the group of girls, one of them kept talking a bit, not like so loudly, but they were having a chat, and then Paris went and addressed it because that's what he does. He's also the runner of the night, but he also does MCing sometimes as well. So he addressed it, and one of the girls was just like, "Oh, we're talking because you're not that funny." And then everyone was like, "Oh shit!"
Oh no!
And then he was like, "Oh, what? Do you think you could be funnier? Do you think you could do better?" And then she made a comment about, "Oh, all you're doing is just stringing your guitar. You're not even like making jokes. You're just like playing your guitar." And then basically, I don't know how this happened because this is a very random thing that never usually happens in open mics, right? She got up and she went up and performed because basically Paris like challenged her. Diesel as well, who's the MC. He went and said, "Yeah, why don't you go up and do a joke?" And she actually got up with her glass of wine in her hand, and she got up. This is a girl. Just to describe what she looks like, she's a white girl, tall, slim, and like bob cut hair. Yeah. And then she got up, white. I think she's English, like probably from the south. Sounded quite southern. And she got up and then she started trying to do a joke, but Paras just kept like heckling her just to like show her like what it's like, like. When she's trying to do her joke, and like he was showing her, but then we were just like, okay, let's give her some time, let's see. And then she started doing a monologue. Like this is the thing in comedy, like when you're new to it, you usually start off by doing a monologue because you don't realize that you have to like be punchy, do jokes, try to like keep it tight. So you start off by just telling a story. So that's what she was doing. So it was literally her first time on stage. It was just such a weird kind of experience to watch because usually that isn't the first time people go up. They don't go up from a heckling to stage time. So it was really odd. It didn't end very well, actually, to be honest. She ended up not really finishing her joke because Paras was like, this is going too long. He ended up just getting the MC to stop it. And then she just stood there for a while. And the next comedian who came up, he was just so flustered. Like, he did not know how, and I would have been the same if I was the comedian going up after that. He just didn't know how to address the room because she was still standing there. And he was just like, this feels awkward. Why didn't you go get a seat with your friends? But she didn't want to sit down with her friends. And I felt like it's because she was just going to leave and that she didn't feel like going back to her seat and that she was literally just waiting for the moment to just be like, I'm going now. And that's ended up what happened in the end. Like her friend ended up getting up. One friend got up and I think that's the friend that went up beside her and then she just left. She made this comment before she left and it was because Reese was saying to her, do you want to have a seat? Do you please just sit down? Like this just feels awkward. And she's like, no, I'm comfortable standing. I think if I sit down, I'm going to just start crying. And we were all just like, oh God, man. Oh no. There like, oh no, this isn't good. But in the end, the comedian who was dealing with this, his name's Reese Kid. He's a sound comedian.
Yeah.
But all he could say, he just kept saying that I'm from Northern Ireland. I don't know how to deal with this. I'm from Northern Ireland. Like, as if being from Northern Ireland, you just can't handle this. And then I even made a comment because he was saying, I don't know how we manage this. I'm like, Good Friday Agreement.
Yeah.
Good Friday. Oh, man. It was just chaos, honestly. I've never seen it before. The thing is every time I go to Backstreet Comedy, every time, I'm not even kidding you, every time I go there, I've only been there once every like month or 2 months.
Yeah.
But every time I go, there's always some, and I don't mean to be racist or anything, but it's always a white woman who's usually blonde or has some kind of haircut or something, who heckles, who drinks a lot, who heckles, and then ends up having to leave because they're just too noisy, or their friends all tell them to quieten down, and eventually they quieten down. But that seems to happen, and it's in Hammersmith, this gig. I don't know if it's because of the location and the kind of people that come to it, but it was just a weird situation again. But this was the most odd thing I've ever seen. I've never seen someone go from heckling to stage. Like that's rare.
Yeah,
that's
brave.
Yeah. So I definitely would say anyone listen to the podcast, go follow Backstreet Comedy. By the time this comes out, it might already be online. It might actually be there. Because it literally just happened last night, and Faraz was like, I'm going to get that on. Going to be slapping that on YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. Have you done Backstreet before, Mark?
No, I haven't. No, not at all. I've not actually heard of it.
Yeah,
so I'll definitely have to look that one up, because it's quite interesting hearing you talk about hecklers and stuff like that, because I'm at the kind of early stages of the comedy journey as such.
Yeah.
So usually it's I'm in those places where the MC's like, don't heckle, just don't heckle.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, okay. And because it's I guess you're generally on the bringer nights as well. They're people's friends, so they're not going to be total dicks about things. But it's always interesting to hear the stories of the hecklings about. So when I enter this journey, as I go through the journey, and later on I'll go to hopefully bigger and better venues and stuff like that, there'll be some more interaction and trying to learn how to deal with things. So how long have you been in stand-up now, and how and why did you choose to try this out?
Yeah, for nights like that, honestly. I just so I went through a breakup in 2022. Typical story to start stand-up, isn't it? And basically, it was a 3-year relationship, 1 year long distance because of COVID, and she went back to Singapore. And then basically, I was just like, I came out of the relationship being like, I actually have no creative hobby. Like, I have nothing that I do creatively. The closest I got to creativity was playing video games, maybe, and like maybe making some things on Minecraft, stuff like that. But very low level kind of creativity. And my background's in engineering. I don't do engineering anymore, but that was my background, like science, and that's all I did at school. And I never really did anything creative. That like the closest I got was joining a video game. Like, me and my mates set up like our own little mobile video game making company, and it was not really a big company. It was just us 8 guys and a couple of girls, all just trying to make a video game on the computer, but we didn't end up doing it in the end. But that's the closest I got. And like my contribution to that company was making clouds for the game. Like, that was learning how to code to make the clouds, the weather, to make it seem more realistic for this video game we were making. But anyways, that's why I saw this come up on Facebook, basically, this thing, Ultra Comedy it's called.
Okay.
And it's like a comedy course, but to raise money for charity. I don't know if you've heard of it.
So it's kind of like the white collar boxing, but you're not beating people up, you're making people laugh.
Yes, it's like that kind of the boxing. Ultra boxing is another one that they do. And so basically, it's training yourself to do something that you haven't done before or that you want to learn. Maybe you have done it, but you want to learn or like get yourself on stage. And basically, I did that. I only ended up attending 4 out of the 8 weeks, which was like the minimum you needed to attend, because I had a holiday in Pakistan, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to miss like 3 weeks of it. And then I missed another week because I was like not ready to practice my material. I didn't have it ready. It was just one of those things off the whim. I just kind of felt like, you know what, I'll push myself into doing this. And then I did it. And I never did any gigs before that. So literally my first gig was in front of 150 people.
Yeah.
And like maybe 15 of them were people I know. So like
Yes.
10% of the audience were people I know. So it was wild. Like when I went up, I wasn't prepared. And yeah, this was back in December 2022. And I literally the night before scrapped my whole set and was like, I need to do something that's more me rather than trying to like make something that like, you know, like goes through a monologue or whatever. I was like, nah, I need to just chuck some jokes in here. I need to just make this into like something punchy.
Yeah.
So that like my friend was listening to my set being like, nah man, that's not you. You're like making a story here. Like you know what you are like and you know what kind of comedy you like to do and then he kind of helped me a little bit, ghostwriting somewhat. And like we ended up like car journey Glasgow Edinburgh, just like coming up with pretty much half of my set being new, and then it was funny because on the day right that it happened, the showcase, people were going really fast. Like I
Yeah.
understand it's maybe their first gig, and you know they got a bit freaked out by the amount of people that were there, and they're supposed to do 5 minutes, but some people were just doing 2-3 minutes. And
Okay.
I was later on. So fortunately, because I was later on, the MC was like, the MC was also the teacher who also taught us. She's like, yeah,
Yeah.
go on as long as you want. You don't need to worry about time now. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did a 20-minute set. Now I'm joking.
I was gonna say that's ambitious.
Nah, I just did a couple more minutes than 5. So I ended up, I got it on YouTube and I looked at it and I was like, oh, I ended up almost doing a 7. So it's funny because most people's first gig is usually a couple of minutes, maybe a 5 at most. They don't usually get into the 7 territory. It's funny because on the circuit, to get a 7, you usually have to have been doing comedy for a bit and, you know, be a bit known to get the 7-minute slots. So it was kind of funny that my first gig, I was able to like make a video and I was able to have the 7. And yeah, it wasn't a perfect 7 or anything. It was literally my first gig, but it's good to like look back and see that I was able to fill the time. And that's something in comedy that kept me going because I actually just really enjoy being on stage. I just enjoy being in front of people and just kind of, you know, having a bit of banter, just chatting about myself a bit. And yeah, just that's why comedy kind of leaned into me a lot more because it's just a more fun way of, you know, exposing yourself on stage, just being up there and having fun with it. So yeah.
So that showcase has led the way to. So after, was it a case of the showcase went so well that you went, that's it?
Oh yeah,
this is what I want to do.
So this is what kind of happened. So I knew I was moving to London. And I started the comedy training course so I signed up to the comedy training course thinking I'm stuck in Edinburgh. I might as well do something fun. But when I got the job to go to London, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like I've literally started a hobby that will be so easily transferable because in London, I know that there's a lot more open mics and things. So I was like, okay, this is great. And I even I don't know if you've met Raj. Have you met Raj Savad? Raj, he's like a small guy from like northwest London. He's Tamil kind of.
I think I might have actually.
Yeah, there's a couple of Rajas on the circuit.
Yeah,
but you'll know who it is when you see him. And I met him at a gig in Edinburgh. So I just started gigging in Edinburgh before I moved to London. I did a couple of gigs, and I met him at one of the gigs, and he said that he'll set me up. Like I come through London, he'll set me up. He's got this app called Gig Gag that I can sign up to. And I can find some gigs on that. And then like, yeah, he's like, I know this other gig that's not on Gig Gag. I can take you along and we can bring for each other. Because that was something as well that he told me is a thing. In Edinburgh, you didn't have that. You just kind of like rocked up and you just performed. You didn't have bringers and things. So yeah, it was good because he kind of helped me settle in. But basically, yeah, after the showcase, I was like, let me just keep gigging. Let me just... but it's funny because a lot of the material from my first gig, I didn't actually end up doing again. Like, I just didn't bother. Like, I just had new stuff that I wanted to try out. And that first material was just me doing my showcase. Then after that, I was like, let me just try some other things that I've come up with and just go around the circuit and have fun with it. So... And then after that, I just moved to London after a month of doing that in Edinburgh. The month of December. Then I moved to London in January. I took a month off just to settle into London. And then I got back in it again in February. And since then, I was adding up how many gigs I've done. I've done about 60 almost, around about 60 in that space of February to now. And I was like, wow, I've done like more than like I've done about one a week. In my head, I'm like, nah, I don't feel like I have. But
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes you just go through flurries. You know it yourself, don't you, Mark? Like where you just do like 3 in 1 week or 4 in 1 week. You're like, wow, that's you do a lot, and then you
yeah,
have some weeks where you just don't do much, and it all
yeah.
averages out. So, yeah,
Yeah, I did my first gig on Tuesday this week, and I hadn't gigged for nearly 4 weeks because
oh right,
obviously
yeah,
because of Christmas break. But it was still
mm,
it was weird getting up on stage and doing it again.
yeah.
And it was a quiet night, and it was one of those where you kind of go, oh, it's a bit weird.
Which gig was it?
It was Lollipops.
Lollipops. Oh yeah,
Yeah, in
I've
Southwark.
heard of that one. Oh, that's Suffolk. Yeah, I think I was just like,
Southwark,
that's too
as
far.
in no, it's Southwark, as
Oh,
in
Southwark.
near London Bridge, Blackfriars Way.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, so I'm part of the comedian booking group they've got on Facebook. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the things that they have. Yeah, I've been meaning to sign up to that one. But yeah, oh, that's cool.
So, what's your what would you say your best moment on stage has been?
Hmm. I was trying to think about this. Like, I feel like some of the best moments I've had have been on my comedy nights. So the one I run with Square Go Comedy, and just kind of like I did my first 10 there,
Yep.
and it was it was. It's hard to say it's my best moment because I wasn't ready for it. But I think one of the things I like about comedy is how friendly it can be. So
Yeah.
if you've got the right environment and you've got the right people around you, you can really feel like safe.
Yes.
And I did feel like I was up there 10 minutes and I was just chatting away. My material wasn't really there. I was trying out new stuff, but in some ways, like I think that's when I came to realize that I'm really blessed. Like my situation that I had there, where I was able to just go up and do a 10. I run that night and things, and
Yeah.
I wanted to challenge myself, and it felt like a really good moment in my comedy time because I was like, right, I've actually managed to like settle myself into this place and
Yeah.
start a night. I started a night in April, so I wasn't even that many months in. I just
Yeah.
already started a night. Opportunity came up, and yeah, basically I feel like that was like a moment where I was like, yeah, do you know what? This is the best so far, where I'm able to kind of do this, meet really cool people through running a night, and then be able to like fill out the 10. I ended up doing 11 in the end, even though I said to them at the start, it's like, yeah, it's really nice, like being able to do a 10, but I'm not prepared for this because I had 5 acts drop out in the space of 24 hours, and I
Yeah.
was quickly trying to fix the night to make sure we didn't have not enough acts. I
Yeah.
had to book in some big names just to fill up time slots rather than
Mm-hmm.
having to book more comedians to back up. So that took a bit of time out of me from practicing, but it still went okay. Like I was still able to kind of spitball and do that. But yeah, I feel like that's like one of the moments where I look back and was like, it's quite nice.
So
Yeah.
this has always intrigued me actually. Then how did you get your own night? So like take me through the process of like
Yeah.
contacting a venue, working out a venue if wants it. How
No,
you
this is the thing. I'll be honest. Like, I think it's funny how my life works out, but in some ways, things like in my life happen like this, where I just stumble across things.
Yeah.
It happens with my relationships. It happens with this. So I just went to get brunch at Blighty, this cafe called Blighty. It's on Blackstock Road, Finsbury Park,
Yeah.
and we were just looking for somewhere to eat. Me and my mates, and we went out the night before. We were all hanging, and we were all just looking for somewhere to eat. And in the end, we just stumbled across this cafe because my mate lives, my mate's brother lives near there, and I also happen to live near there too because
Mm-hmm.
it was just quite convenient how my friend's brother lives just up the road from where I happen to live in London.
Yeah.
Like, you know how rare that is in London to just happen to have the right location for where someone else is. So, anyways, we went to this cafe, and my friend's, my friend's brother's friend, like
Yeah.
he was learning to be a DJ. So he was learning to he wanted to jam. He wanted to find spaces that he could test out his productions, his music and stuff. And he went into this cafe, which isn't usually the kind of place you go into thinking I can DJ. But he went in and he was like, "Oh, this outdoor area is quite nice. I wonder if they like open it up and use it for venue or whatever." I'm like, "Mate, it's a cafe. I don't know, maybe."
Yeah.
And then he just started asking him. He started talking to him, and then he was like, "I don't know, like music. I don't think we can do that because it's outdoors. It might disrupt the neighbors. I don't
Yeah.
think we can do like a partying kind of thing." And then the light bulb just hit me, and I was like, "What about comedy?" He was like, yeah, sure, yeah, we'd love to do like something like that here, like comedy. Yeah, we could do that. The outdoor space might work in the summer because it was April. No, it was February at the time.
Yeah.
So in my head, I was like talking to him, thinking, maybe the indoor space, but the outdoor space was really nice.
Yeah.
And we were just like, I just said to him, yeah, I might be into this. I literally was honest with him. I'm like, look, I only just started doing open mics. I'm starting to get to know the comedians, so I'm starting to know who I could book on. But I have literally just started, and I have an app that I could use, Gig Gag, at the time. And he was like, yeah, sure. Just get in touch. And then I sat on it. Like, I sat on it for like a month and a half because I was just going through some stuff. Like, I needed some things sorted out at work. I just, like, life shit going on. Like, it's just so much things to deal with. And then in the end, I was like, do you know what? I've still got this business card. I really should call him up. He was really excited. He really wanted to do this. Like, the cafe manager guy was, like, really excited. So I was like, do you know what? Let me just go in sometime and see him. And I did. I talked to his landlord as well. So, like, the person who's the operations manager for the two cafes, because there's, like, a Blighty cafe in Tottenham.
Yeah.
And they also ran comedy, funnily enough. They ran a comedy night out of there for a bit. And I can't remember the name of that one. It'll come back to me maybe later. But, yeah, that one's stopped anyways, so it's kind of irrelevant to remember the name. But, yeah, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll run it out of this cafe. I could run a different kind of night too, because his one was dark comedy, dark humor.
Yeah.
I think it was Wes Defoe that was running that one, but I just can't remember the name of it for some reason.
I saw Wes on Lollipops on Tuesday.
Oh, was he there? Yeah.
Yeah, he was performing. He was good.
It was good. Yeah, I've got him booked on this Saturday, so I'm looking forward to it. I've been wanting to see him at my night rather than just see him on the circuit. So yeah, basically, I started doing the comedy night then, and it was like end of April. I decided to do it, and I was like, right. It was the reason why I delayed it a bit further though was also because of Ramadan. So I knew that I had to fast, and to do a comedy night while fasting would have been quite difficult. I think.
Yeah.
Generally, I just didn't do any comedy really during that month either, because I was just kind of, you're in a spiritual zone, and also you're just kind of, you're not really feeling like energy as well to like be able to do all the admin involved as well. Because I was like, this is going to be my first night. I need to have the energy for it. So I did that a couple of weeks after Eid, and yeah, I just set it up, and it was good. It's a bit weird because most people, they tell me their start of their comedy open mics and how they started their venues. They had to go around venue scouting, all this kind of stuff. They had to, cut a deal with the cafe owner or the pub manager to be able to, like, not have to pay too much, or to be able to meet some kind of tab or something like that. I'm very blessed because the cafe manager was like, look, just try to fill the room and hopefully we'll make sales. And hopefully it's enough so that I don't have the operations manager saying, stop that now, there's no point, we're not making enough money. And so far, I think it's averaging out to be okay. I know that there's been nights where I just haven't had enough people. He has been a bit disappointed. However, I think he understands that on average, I'm going to have some nights that are really busy and I'm going to have some nights that are not. And that we're just going to have to like balance that out. And also the fact that he's on a salary helps, because it means that he doesn't have to offset the cost of himself, at least. He will have to offset the cost of anyone who helps him. So he does have employees that come in and help him, maybe for the second half or for the break. Because it's usually the most sales are in the break. The beginning of it isn't too bad. It's the break that everyone starts buying stuff. So yeah, he just kind of helped me run it really, and was quite fortunate to let me do it every fortnight. We had a period where we did it like once a week and it was just too much. And he said, fortnights are good. He can balance that out with his own social life as well, so that he can try to make it every time. And then if he can't make it, he has now some people who are like working with him now, so they know the night, they're up for it. So yeah, I've just been very like fortunate, you could say, in my journey of how I got that night. Yeah.
So how do you find this is another thing that's kind of interesting me with that progression into having your own night. How do you progress from being a comedian into being an MC?
Yeah.
So I assume you MC a lot of your own nights and stuff.
No, this is the thing. So people found me very weird when I started Square Go, because I was the first person. I'm pretty sure, I don't mean to like toot my own horn, but I think I was the first person who ran a comedy night who wasn't even there. Like, there were some nights where I didn't actually show up. And the reason why was because I really liked the opportunity that I could give to other comedians to MC.
Yeah.
I think that I was really disappointed when I started going around the circuit seeing the same people MCing every single time. And
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man, like, you run a night, surely you can let other people in. So I started doing that. I was like, do you know what? Let me try this and see if they've got a point of why they do it.
Yeah.
And they do have a slight point. They do have a slight point of why they need to at least be there. Like, that
Yeah.
is something that, as a promoter, as someone who's running the comedy night, it does make more sense to be there. If you're not there, there can be some issues. And if you don't have good MCs who are going to help you run the night, sometimes things can pop up or issues can happen, or
Yeah.
the night doesn't get as many people, things like that. So the thing is, though, in terms of MCing, I never really learned or progressed into it. What ended up happening was I made myself a rule, which was I'm going to always do one half comedians. So basically, you never have one half MCs, so that you don't always have the same MC throughout the whole night.
Okay.
That's the rule that I set up on Square Go to stop me from being like, oh, I'll just MC the whole night.
Yeah.
And also to keep the progression going so that people could still MC. And so that I'm not going to have nights where I'm just going to MC, or I'm going to have one night where one person MCs the whole night. And I think that's the element of uniqueness I'm trying to bring into the open mic circuit. Because not only did I set up Square Go to just have my own night, I set up Square Go to also experiment and to try different approaches to open mic, and not just to have the same formula as everyone else, which is, this is my night, I run it, and then I MC it. Or if I'm partnering up with someone, they're going to MC one night, I'm going to do a 7 or a 10, and then vice versa. I didn't like that kind of approach either, because I get that there's comedians who are trying to get more stage time, that are trying to get, more exposure and learn some things. But we're all in this together. And I do think that if I'm showing the model of Square Go, and I'm showing that this is an approach that I'm taking, and guess what? I'm getting audience, and guess what? I'm getting more interest from comedians, and I'm getting this and that. And females was a big thing for me too, because I know in the open mic circuit, there's not enough opportunities for female MCs, or for females to get 7s, and even queer and non-binary people as well to get those opportunities. So again, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to set up a formula to show people that this is what I'm doing with my night, and this is how I'm running it. And maybe, you can break your traditional kind of one MC, same kind of person formula, and you can mix it up a bit and give more opportunities out to people, so that we can all grow and develop. And it's not just you have to start your own night in order to do that, in that sense. So I'm not a good MC. That's basically what I'm trying to say in a nutshell. I've not been able to learn it enough. I've been doing one halves, and I've been doing some nights, and sometimes I didn't even do MC. I didn't even turn up. So I literally didn't even MC for like a whole month of August. I had a show every week in August, and I wasn't able to make any of them because I had plans. It was the summer. It was really busy for me, and I couldn't actually make any of them to perform or to MC. So, to be honest, I had a whole month where I just missed out on my own opportunity in that sense to jump in. But that's the thing. Now I'm trying to make sure that I'm there. I'm trying to make sure that I MC at least once every month. And I'm trying to learn, but it is hard. It is hard to MC if you're not doing it constantly, because it is a completely different type of approach that you have to take. You have to keep the show running too, so you have to have that in the back of your mind. It's not just doing your set. You have to talk to the crowd as well. You have to try to engage them. So there is a bit more to it than what I'm doing, which is just one half now and again. I'm just always going to be starting from the beginning somewhat, but it's getting there. It's getting there.
I think it's a really good skill to learn. It's something I've not learned yet, but when I see people that can be doing their set, but then jump out of their set into crowd work that engages, that makes everything flow, makes it different from what people possibly heard before, and then can flip back into their set at the same time.
Yeah.
And I guess as an MC as well, you've got to be, even when you're not on the stage, you're looking around, watching what's going on in the room, because there's bits that's going on in that room that you can be talking about when it's your next, and then start building up the not pressure, building up the energy in the room.
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's an interesting trait that I think a lot more comedians that are getting onto the open mic circuit nowadays want to experience.
Mm. Yeah.
Whereas I always got the impression that those in from not the olden times as such, but those that were coming through as comedians, it was, I'm just going to be a comedian. I'm not
Yeah.
interested in finessing that skill. I just want to do my 5, 7, 10s, even maybe
Mm.
20s at some point. But
Yeah.
it doesn't have that interactive element to it. But I think a lot more nowadays, I think there's a lot more interaction that's going on in comedy shows,
Mm.
as you said earlier.
Yeah.
Random people just going, okay, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, it's funny because just to make this point, there's this comedian called Matt Rife. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
getting around the whole like TikTok, Facebook, and all that. Now
Yeah.
he's known to just be a crowd work comedian. Like he
Yes.
basically is being an MC, but he doesn't
Yeah.
realize that that's the reason why that he's starting to boom up and why it's because it's actually getting audiences involved. And the thing is what I've realized in comedy is that there's so much funny in people that
Yes.
can come out if you engage in that funny and you
Yep.
engage in it in a respectful manner as well, because that's
Yes.
one
Yes.
thing that you need to do as an MC. You can't just blast at people or just take the piss out of them. Like you have to do it in a respectful manner, but also in a tongue-in-cheek manner too, so that you actually make them comfortable and you make them bring out more.
Yep.
And like this is the thing, there are situations where you can just talk to someone. They might look like the most introverted, like non like social interacting kind of person, someone who doesn't seem to like say much. You have one interaction with them, they talk a little bit, right? They
Yep.
maybe say one thing, two things. Then you ask them about their job or you ask them about something more personal. Then all of a sudden a light switch flicks and that they actually become quite conversational. And it's a
Yes.
skill. It is a skill to learn as a person, as an MC, but as a person as well, to be able to draw out that kind of relatability from someone, and to get that kind of them feeling comfortable enough to like want to engage. And
Yep.
then that's when the best material comes out. That's when you actually get some really funny insights and you get some really funny like one-liners or things coming out from that person. It's not even from the MC. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just that person saying something ridiculous or something funny because they
Yeah.
are just in the moment. And that's what I've realized is that when you're able to um, give the opportunities for comedians to try to do that, you can get really fun nights out of it. What people say to me, my night, and again, I feel like I don't want to seem like I'm kind of tooting my own horn or anything, but people come along to my night and they say, your night is so friendly, the audiences are always so engaged. That's
Yep.
so hard to find on the comedy circuit. Something where the audiences feel like they can be involved and interactive. And that's one of the main reasons why I do the one half MC thing, so
Yeah.
that you get a balance of people. It's not just the one same person who's talking to those people, and you're only getting that kind of interaction. You get someone else in. So this Saturday, I've got this girl called Hannah. Oh, I forget her. She's double barrel name, but Hannah Davies. And she's a very high energy. She does MCing. She's done it
Yep.
for TNT, and she's been around the circuit quite a lot, so she's quite well known. But she's a very high energy kind of MC. Like she's just very like giddy and like she has fun with the audience and things.
Yeah.
And this is different to my style. My style is more just like have a chat, have a bit of banter, be relaxed, kind of not too high energy. But this is what I mean by like creating the environment where these open mics don't have to be a level thing like that. And
Yeah.
then that gives comedians the opportunity to then also learn how they can be interactive like that. It also, I feel like my night brings out more crowd work from the comedians too. They're more likely to engage with the crowd because they're
Yeah.
seeing the MCs different. They're seeing the audience be more interactive with them. And then they're more keen to actually try to do crowd work and to try to engage because they can see that this is a room for it. This is the room to try. And we need more of those rooms. We need more of these like open mics that have that energy and that vibrance to like, engage the audiences.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think there's a night in it's probably actually not that far away from you along I think it's Holloway Road, BFF comedy, where the two guys that run it both MC it, but they flip and flop between each act between the MCs, and it's almost like you're having extra acts on for the audience. And but when you have the And you have I can't remember the guy's name, so forgive me for that. But the
Miles and Dan. I know
yes,
BFF. I've been to BFF. Yeah, Miles and Dan.
yeah. So when Miles does his bit and then
Yeah.
introduces the comic, and then Dan will come on, Dan may reference something that Miles has said, and they're
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
having a bit of banter between
Yeah,
themselves
yeah.
and what they're both
Yeah.
seeing, which is quite interesting. It's quite fun. I've always enjoyed that night when I've done that. And
Yeah, I did BFF comedy December. That was, yeah. It was a good night.
Yeah, I did. I think I did it in November, and I forgot half my set, which made it even better. It encouraged me to kind of have some fun, and yeah, it was a good laugh.
Yeah.
But I think that those type of nights, and I do want to touch on this a little bit later on. Like the alternative type of night. So you have the nights which are your standard stuff that we all know, then you have the nights that put on like dark comedy. But the most interesting one I think I've been involved in, and you were there as well, was the improvisational one.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good night. I'd like to talk about that
Yeah.
in
I'd
a
love
bit
to
of
talk about
detail.
that too. Yeah.
Because I think that's almost that's a practice routine as an MC.
Yes, exactly.
Without it being that, and having to think on your feet, and you seeing what's going around, and then you start referencing things that you'd heard before.
Yeah.
But the annoying thing, or the frustrating thing I think I found with that night was, I've proposed this format of night to somebody who's local to me.
Okay.
I think rather than having say 12 acts do 5 minutes,
yes,
you have 8 acts do 10 minutes, but split into 2 5-minute sections.
Okay.
So because what I found personally for me was because I think you were second or third on.
Yeah, on the second half, I think it was.
And I was not long on. I was one of the ones in the first half, and it was just like, I've done my bit, and then you're hearing other people, and you're going, "Oh, I could have that's
Yeah.
I've got something in my head for that, and I could have." And you're giving that comedian the second chance again in the second half after hearing some stuff. I think is quite interesting to see how people react to it, and it also gives you that little bit of extra. You're more involved in the night.
Yeah, and it validates the people that are there. So, like the audience members who put up their ideas or suggestions, and like just generally like the improv part of it. Like, I do think that I was quite fortunate. You're right, being in the second half and getting that perfect interaction with that couple as well.
Yeah.
Like that night, that was brilliant because literally a light bulb switched in my head, and like it just became. Something funny. I mean, we could do like a part on that if you want, rather than just like spitballing. Unless you want to talk about it now, just get on.
No, I think this kind of chat about it is actually quite nice because this is a natural kind of chat. I had it down as something to chat with later, but it doesn't matter. It's the improvisational way comedy is, and it's random and things happen.
Yeah.
This podcast is all designed to be just chatting.
Yeah.
See what happens. That's it. And it makes it feel more natural and less contrived, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because you were like, we'll talk about it later, and I'm like, I'm the kind of person who just talks about stuff in the moment.
I have to be that person because if I don't, I'll forget.
Yeah. Man, I've got a very bad memory with a lot of things. Like, but yeah. So in terms of that improv night, though, I would say this. Like, I signed up. I was one of the first people to sign up to it because this is something that I've been wanting to do. Like, even this podcast as well has been something that I've been thinking, more people need to know about open mic. They need to know about what's going on. So I just didn't have the luxury of, I didn't have like some time that I could allot, and I'm starting a new job and everything. So as soon as I saw that you'd done this, I was like, perfect. Like I could jump on this, I could follow it, promote it. Just because this is the thing, like improv in itself, it's funny as well how many people know about improv, like as a concept. People don't realize that there is sometimes they don't think that there is a connection or that there's a way of bringing both of them together. They just think that comedy is comedy and improv is improv, and that one is by yourself and one is with a group. But actually, you could do improv on stand-up with the group of people that are there, and that actually that's your improv group. And it's funny because I've realized that some people haven't picked that up going around the circuit. Then they come to my night. And what I used to do, and I don't do this anymore because I'm working out what I can do instead, is I used to do a competition where I used to do at the end of the gig, I used to somehow figure out who the top 4 comedians are. I had different methods of doing it, and that was the main reason why I got rid of it, because I was like, this it's just too difficult to like figure out who the top 4 comedians in the night are. And also it makes it into a competition when I haven't actually categorically set it up as a competition, because it's a new act, new material night. So in some ways, people turn up being like, oh wait, it's a competition, or I would have done my best stuff. And I'm just like, oh wait, well, it's all right. Like, it's not a big deal. It's like a mini competition. But then, so the competition though, the main reason why I did it was to let people do improv. So to let people go up on stage, the top 4 comedians, and I would collect suggestions from the audience, like Tyson was doing for the improv night. I'd collect suggestions from the audience, but I'd only give them 1 minute to make jokes about one topic.
Right. Okay.
So they'd go through the. And this is another thing I had an issue with, was how do I give them the topic? Do I give them it randomly? Do I give all of the topics out and they choose? Do they like do a little swapping routine with each other? Because one night they actually did that. I think some of the comedians were like, "Hey, take this one. I'll have that one." And it's like, it was hard to manage, but basically I would do that to try to get the top 4 comedians who have obviously shown promise because the audience like them. To get them to challenge themselves, to do improv, to just make a joke. But the thing is the competition wasn't, they didn't decide the winner, the full-on winner from the improv. A lot of the times they were deciding it on who they liked the most because of their set. And I think that's the thing that I was trying to figure out, is if I want to keep that competitive element, I need to make it just improv. But then I also need to make the comedians only do improv, so that they're only going to be judged by their improv and not by their set material.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing where I was like, okay, I could maybe do first half normal stand-up, second half improv. And that way the improv people from the second half could actually touch on some of the comedians' jokes or touch on some of the stuff, but also they can do the improv with the topics. But I still haven't figured that out yet. I still haven't set up any nights yet to do that process. I've been booking comedians. There's just so many of them who want to just do stand-up. And I think a lot of them will just come and do crowd work anyways, naturally. But I do think that it's something I wanted to look into, because that's a gap. And you're right, that's a gap to get the comedians to want to do improv, to try crowd work, to actually give them the circumstances to be like, look, you've got 5 minutes, just go and do improv, go and do crowd work. You've got the license. There's no restriction on it. You don't have to brute your way in. Like some comedians, they just do it. Like they just do crowd work anyways for the whole 5. And I'm sitting there like, okay, yeah, go for it. And I don't stop them. But some of the people are like, that's not fair. How are they able to just do crowd work the whole time? I'm just like, so maybe making it official will make it a more comfortable thing for the comedians to go for. If I'm saying to them, hey, you have got 5 minutes to just do crowd work. And you don't need to worry about filling it with your set material. You can literally just have fun with it. I'll get some topics from the audience, things like that. Kind of like what Tyson did. But
I think that's a good format. It makes it, the audience then genuinely know that when the comedian is on stage, they've not said it before. Yeah. Everyone knows the comedian said it before in a normal set, but when you're advertising this as improv stuff, I think that the guards come down a bit from the audience and kind of go, I know 100% in the back and front of my mind that this is genuinely almost just for one night only.
Yeah, exactly, and it makes it more unique. I mean, you get things like Backstreet happening where that is a very rare thing that's never going to happen, where some girl's going to heckle and then come up on stage. And that is literally like a one-night thing. But sometimes most nights I go to, open mics, very standard affair, very, you know what's going to happen. You even know some of the comedian sets because you've seen them around the circuit. So, and it's just like, whereas if I do have like, so I'm trying to figure out and flirt with it a bit, like one half, like the improv stuff. So
how do you find? So you touched on competitions, trying to set up or create mini competitions with it. How do you feel about them now that you've done them, and how did you decide? Because obviously comedy is so subjective. Yeah, and you go to some competitions and it's based purely on the crowd reaction. But then if the person that's won it has brought half the audience with them, that reaction's going to be And you do get those. You do sometimes get the nights where there's a competition going, and somebody's brought along a few friends, and they, for the other acts, they just won't. They won't do anything. They won't murmur. They won't make a noise because they don't want to make it look like their friend's not as good as somebody else.
Yeah.
And I always find those nights really awkward and weird, and you always look at them at the end of the night and kind of go, well, was that worth it? Did I want to be involved in that? Because it's yeah, I think I might have said this before in a previous episode where I was actually at one which had like one of the clap offs at the end, and everyone knew there was going to be one, and the person that won it had actually basically read their set, but because their 6 friends were giddy and drunk and loud, it's just like yeah, okay,
yeah,
fine, I'll accept that one. But it's just like if you want to be taken seriously at all, then don't base it on things like that.
Yeah, that's the difficulty I was having, because I'm a fair person. I'm trying to be a fair person, but the problem I've had is I was looking at the technology element. What's the technology out there that can help me collect votes, that can help me, out with this problem of clap-offs? And even a clapometer, there's not really one that's working properly, because I tried that. I could even go through the evolution of what's happened and then why I ended up just stopping the comp, actually. I can just to give you the lowdown. It started off with me getting a ballot voting. So I started off like that. And I was basically starting the night saying, hey guys, submit your one-word topics. Because it was always one-word topics. And the reason why I made it one word was to make it easier for the comedians, because they know it's just going to be one word. It's not going to be a sentence. It's not going to be something long. It's going to be something usually more simple too if it's just one word. But yeah, so I did them. I had pieces of paper, and I'd get them to with a piece of paper, put in their one-word topics. But also, I'd give them a piece of paper at the end of the show, and I'd say, look, write down your top 2 comedians, right? Top 2, and that was so that I can get a bit more of a balance as well. So it's not just your top comedian. You have to put in your second. And I would count the votes in the same manner. So I wouldn't say top first, top second. I would just say, how many votes has someone got? I tally it all up. And that would be a manual process. It'd be a very paper-based process, because I couldn't find the digital solution. I couldn't figure out the digital solution that would be the most intuitive as well. So one that people could just easily scan, vote, it would work, I'd be able to see the votes. It just wasn't really working. I tried different methods, Microsoft Forms, Google Forms, all that stuff. It just never really seemed to be seamless. So anyways, the paper was the only one I kind of relied on the most. And usually it worked in that sense of getting the top 4. But once you've got your top 4, how do you decide who's the top? Now, sometimes I would do it based on my own reaction from the improv. That didn't really work. It's hard for me to make that judgment. Then I then used to just kind of cheat somewhat and not care about the improv. The improv, I would just say, is just them getting a challenge. And even if they do badly, they could still win, because technically I would only add up the total votes. Usually the person who ended up getting the most votes ended up being the best at improv, fortunately. But generally speaking, I ended up doing that as a method. And then it just became a comp like that. Then it was just like audience voting. So who got the most votes wins. And I would just have a little comp at the end for the top 4, so that the top 4 would be recognized, so that they would be noticed by the crowd, and that they would have that one-word improv topic. So in that sense, it kind of worked. But the problem I think I had was the admin. So having to go and get everyone to fill up a piece of paper, and to then collect all those, and then to add them up, and the time that took. And also just generally how long the night would get, because then the night would get longer, because I'd have that extra section at the end, and I'd have to have, and also prizes. So it would cost me, I think, I tried to do that voting system as well. I did try an online thing, but the problem is that it just wasn't seamless. And then when it came to some of the comedians kind of arguing, being like, I didn't know it was a comp, I was just doing new acting material. And then some of them being like, well, the first night I had, this guy brought 8 friends. I didn't know he brought 7 bringers.
Yeah.
And then I found out after, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense why you won. And then this is the thing for the prizes as well. I was spending money out of my pocket because I wasn't getting donations straight away. That was another problem that I had, and which we can touch on later. But like, I basically was buying coasters, so I made customized coasters, square coasters, because it's square goal comedy, and I was making these coasters and handing them out to the comedians who won. And then I'd also have a prize for the audience member who had that one word topic.
Yeah.
Even if it's a comedian, they'd get a prize. And that prize would usually be something ad hoc that I'd have to just come up with on the day, or something in my room that I had spare that's kind of neat that I'm not using. Like random stuff. The first prize I gave, actually, have you met Maple? Have you met Maple Zo?
No.
He's a comedian from China, and she was at my first night, and she was performing, but she didn't win that night. But she chose the one-word topic that won.
Yeah.
She wrote that one-word topic that won, so it was kind of funny. Like, I had both comedians win prizes, and I was like, damn it, man, it's supposed to be an audience member who wins. It's not supposed to be that. And basically, it was funny because I didn't actually have a prize for the audience member. All I had was an assortment of things from my room. And one of them was a flask. One of them was a candle.
Yeah.
And something else. Maybe like an Iron Brew can, because I'm from Scotland, so I like had a can of Iron Brew. I was like, I'll just put that there. And there was 3 things, and it was really funny because I also let the comedian who won back then in my first show. I let the comedian who won get the coat. They didn't get a coaster back then because I didn't make them back then. So this was an idea I came up with later. So the prize I gave them was one of these things, and they chose the candle. They chose the candle over the flask. This was a nice flask I had that was a tartan flask, which I knew was going to be gone. Like, I knew someone was going to pick that up. Yeah. And it was funny. Maple was like, oh, you're not taking the flask? Okay, great, I'll take it. It was like this nice tartan flask. And then the irony of it was, and this is why competitions, I just think that when they're set up like this, it just doesn't really work, is the next time I did it, I didn't have the coaster again, because again, that wasn't an idea that I came up with until later. And she won. Like, she won. So back then I managed to get the coaster. This was like the 3rd or 4th show or something, and I managed to get a coaster, and I invited her back to perform, and she won the competition. And I say to her, oh, do you still have that flask, because I'm pretty sure I used it and I don't know if you really want to keep it. She was like, oh. And I was like, it's okay, I'm giving you a coaster, so you're sound now, you've got one of these comedy coasters, you don't need the flask anymore. She was like, and then she gave it back to me. I've got her performing this Saturday as well. But we're good mates after that. But this is the thing about competitions. A, prize. And then B, I was wanting to give audience members a prize to encourage them to come up with a one-word topic. But it kind of backfired, because sometimes it would be the comedians, or sometimes, now this was a very odd moment that it happened, very odd, because it's supposed to be completely random. One of the people who won, he was a good comedian. Like, don't get me wrong, like, he was a great comedian. His set was really good. He even won a competition recently. I think he won one of the heats for Cav or something like that. And it was funny. He won my show. But when I said, hey, who came up with the one-word topic? He looked at me and he's like, honestly, mate, this really wasn't a setup, but it was actually my girlfriend who came up with the topic. And I was like, oh, anyone else? I was just basically like, okay, do you know what? I can't give it to her. I really just can't. Like, I was just like sitting there, and all the audience were looking at me like, this is so weird. Like, how does he even decide this? Like, has he just changed the rules of the game halfway? Because this is another thing about competitions, is you have to kind of stay steadfast to your rules, even when they backfire. So on that first show, when a comedian won, I wasn't like, nah, screw it, I'm wanting an audience member to win and just keep going through until... But that time, I was a bit chaotic, and I was like, no, I really can't give it to her. And then I came up, and I went through the other word that I thought was the second highest, like the one that got the second most laughs. And I was like, yeah, we'll go for that one or something. And it was an audience member who won. And I can't even remember what prize it was back then. But it was just funny, because this is the thing about competitions like that, is you really don't know what's going to happen if you're going to do it with the audience. And then you don't know if randomly that person who gets the improv topic is actually going to win in the end. And then it happens to be their girlfriend, so that can happen. And then that's the thing, isn't it? It's just, it was a bit chaotic, and that's why I needed to like remove it from the setup. All the comedians were so grateful because they're like, all right, good, that there's not going to be a competition at the end I have to like think about in my head, or that I have to stay for, or the nights are not going to get long. Instead, I just booked more comedians actually, so I've been able to really open up the comedy night to a lot more comedians because I've freed up that extra time that I would have needed to give to the comp. And because comps take time, clap offs. I started doing clap offs as well, and those were chaotic. I really couldn't manage that. I was struggling because I'm trying to be a fair comedian, but sometimes some of the clapping, and it was funny. One time, someone called me up on it, and they were like, "Remember, you're clapping for the best comedian, not just their improv." And then I was sitting there, I was like, "Oh no, I didn't make that clear." I had to do the voting. I had to do the clap off again. I had to just get them to all do the clap off again.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh man, it was just getting too chaotic with the clap offs. But yeah, it was like one of those things that I just competitions, man. Like I don't really like them if they're just kind of a clap off, and if they're just kind of like you can really control the variables. I think when it's the variables aren't controlled. That's one thing about comps that I don't like, the ones where it's like random people in the audience that they just choose.
Yeah.
Again, that could just be random. Like, but at the same time, that could also work in their favor. You don't know if that person in the audience knows that person. Like, they could just pretend they don't. Yeah. And then you've got someone winning a comp, like, on a lie, basically. And that's where I think, for me anyways, if I wanted to go back into comps, I would utilize technology. I would set up a QR code. I would have a proper organized format where they can vote on their favorite comedians. And I would have a time limit on that. Kind of like Britain's Got Talent kind of thing. And it would just be that setup where actually everyone's involved. You remove all the variables and you've got more audience too, so that it's not a bringer night. Because that's another thing about bringer nights, right? Is that you can set up those circumstances if the competition is a bringer night, because then you can literally just bring all your mates, and you know that the other comedians probably only brought one, and then you basically fill the kind of situation. And I think that's where bringer nights cannot be competition nights. Any competition night that's a bringer night, I would say to the promoters, you're getting lazy. Promote your night, do the job of a promoter, and if you want to run the comp, then you run the comp. Don't run the comp on a bringer, because all you're going to do is set up these kind of quasi circumstances, and also the ones where the judges, it's just one guy who's judging it. Those ones as well. Do not like those. Like those ones is basically a setup for a mate to get their friend up on the top four and to get them to do a clap off at the end as well. Like when it's decided who the top four is from the MC, that's when I'm just like, nah, this is just a weird comp, man. This is just like, I don't even take it seriously. I'm like, there's no point in me taking this seriously or even like acknowledging it, because it's just a setup, and it's like you might as well just pat yourself on the back. Like,
there is that. You know? So in terms of your personal comedy, question I like to delve into with every guest is, what's your favourite joke? How did you come up with it? And how has it changed over time?
Yeah, so I was just thinking about that. I remember when we were messaging about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I've actually got one. But it was something that happened recently. So a couple of months ago, I was going into a rut with my comedy material, thinking, I'm just not being myself. Like, I'm doing material that's kind of catering to audiences. That's kind of catering to the laughs, and kind of a bit more out with myself, and just kind of, looking at easy hacks in that sense. Like, I'm a Scottish Pakistani, and there's a lot of South Asian comedians on the circuit. And with that, there's a lot of hacks now. There's a lot of easy jokes that we can make as South Asians that we know all the kind of audiences would laugh at because we're stereotyping ourselves and things like that. And in my head, I was like, do you know what? I want to try something else. And it's funny because it's just the way the world works, isn't it? It's the way your life works. You, as comedy, you kind of draw on the things going on in your life. I'm sure you'd relate with this, Marc. Like, if something's happening in your life, you'll make a joke about it. Like, it just is a way of processing how that was. And for me, I was going through a really bad breakout of my eczema. And it's a skin condition. It's a dry skin condition that kind of takes up a lot of your time in your life, because you're when it gets bad, you have to start applying creams. You have to start, taking medication. You have to start watching your diet. You have to start watching your hygiene as well. There's so many variables that come into your life after that breaks out. And then to get it back on track, it can sometimes take months. Like, you can have a flare up and you're just stuck with it. I'm still stuck with the one that I had from a couple of months back. Like, it kind of like, it's a bit more easier to manage, but it's still there. It's still a problem. It's still something that I have to deal with. And as a health condition that I thought about, and I was like, do you know what? I don't know how many people know that eczema isn't just like a little rash, and that actually it can be a lifestyle. It can be a life like that you have to live with. And then I thought about it, and I was like, there's opportunity here to make comedy about this, and relate it back to some of the material I already have as well, because I was like, I actually have something that can kind of relate to this. So the joke that I say, I'm kind of giving away the premise at least, is about how I'm a Muslim. I'm a Scottish Pakistani, but I follow Islam. And for 30 days a year, I do Ramadan, right? And Ramadan is a tough thing for me. It's a tough month for me to be religious and everything, because it involves a lot of restraint. It involves restraining yourself from sinful activities. Yeah. And there's just one thing that I struggle to restrain from, and that's from touching myself. Due to my eczema. Yeah. And the thing is most people, if they don't know me or if they haven't seen the skin condition on the stage, because sometimes I do have a bad flare up and you can like see it, they don't make the connection, and it's really funny. And I've had like the big belly laughs from that. And like, it's something I learned at the writers' gym. I went to Angel Comedy Writers' Gym, and it's the clown ears. I don't know if you were there that day. I'm just trying to think if I maybe met you there.
I've not done a writer's gym. No,
you've not done the writer's gym. I thought that for some reason I thought you were there. But yeah, so I went to this writer's gym. It's like a free thing that you can do on Sundays. If you just go onto Angel Comedy, and basically, one of the lessons they were teaching us was clown ears. And clown ears is basically, as a comedian, you are in the moment, but also after, like in your recording, you're listening for where you got the laughs. Yes. Because you'll be surprised at where you actually get the laughs. It might not be from the thing that you think it is. It might actually be from just a thing, a off-the-cuff thing you said, or just like an in-joke within the joke that's actually got a lot of laughs. And you're listening for it, because when you listen for it, you can then build on that. So what happened was I did that joke that, like, I would say is like one of my best jokes at the moment. And what I realized was I can build from it. I can make a little joke again about, how sometimes in the morning I'd wake up, and if I run myself in the right places, I can white stuff. Yeah. And that, and again, if you're continuing on the joke, you're thinking, he's rubbing himself off. But no, I'm not. Literally, it's the skin. And then I developed it even further, and I was like, I can talk about how this affects my dating, because it has affected my relationships that I've been in. But more on a general sense, I've struggled to keep the interest of a woman, and I think that's because I keep flaking on them. And then that was another one that people like love. So I've been trying to build into this and trying to like keep that element of my comedy, because I do think what I've now been able to achieve from kind of doing that joke is relatability, and comedian and the audience being able to like you, because they're like, this someone who's telling us about a skin condition but also making jokes about it, who's not being down and out about it. And sometimes I would go on stage and I've had a really bad flare up, and doing this material, I might be a bit more in the moment and I would be a bit more down. And that's something I'm trying to learn how to manage my emotions a little bit, because if my skin is really bad, I might just be talking about it and kind of feeling a bit down, because I'm like, but unfortunately the jokes that I've come up with keep me on an even keel. When I used to do a bit more of an improv with it, that's when I would go into the therapy session element. And that's when it would be difficult. But because I've got those set jokes now that I keep myself on that keel. And whenever I'm developing the new jokes off that material, I'm trying to make sure that I'm like remaining within that realm, and I'm not letting myself get into the therapy session, because that happened quite a few times when I was doing the eczema jokes. That's
okay. It's interesting. It's quite interesting to hear how it like you've gone from the first part to then
Mm.
expanding again to the rubbing and then flaking. It kind of it keeps the momentum of the premise of the joke going, and I think it also allows if the audience member didn't quite understand the punchline of the first part, the second and third bits then make more sense, if you see what I mean. It gives them that little bit of catch up.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Cool.
That was feedback I got from someone, because they were like, "Oh, do you know? Not everyone knows what eczema is. You need to explain it better in the second part." Because I would usually just say eczema is a skin condition, and some people are like, "Yeah, still don't get it." So now I've started saying it's a dry skin condition where skin can peel off.
Yeah.
That then visualizes it in a person's head, so that when I say, if I'm rubbing myself in the right places, I can create white stuff. Then the visual of the actual skin flaking, but then if they're smart enough in some ways, or not really smart enough, but if they just remember the connection from the previous joke, then they'll get, oh yeah, that makes sense, that he was like joking about touching himself.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then rubbing. And it's like it's something that I wanted to keep developing, because there's one person that you could say inspired it somewhat. I don't know if you know Ibrahim Ibs.
I've seen him.
Yeah. So Ibs, yeah, you have. Have you seen him? He does the IBS joke.
I've seen him. I can't remember where I've seen him. I know I've seen him.
Yeah. You'll know it when you see his set. But like, he does jokes about having IBS a little bit. And so I was just starting to do the eczema stuff. Then I saw his set, and then that inspired me to keep at it, to keep with it. Because I was seeing, and then I just started noticing more comedians doing stuff like this, like talking about their health conditions or anything. And I was like, you know what? That's what this is all about. Like, comedy is a way of expressing yourself, but also bringing to light like something like in the world. Either it be an observation or it be about yourself. And I think that with eczema, I do really want to, like, as I'm developing into 7 and 10 minute sets, I really want to come up with a couple more like things, or like some more observations, life things that are going on day to day that I can draw on, that they can find funny. I've come up with some things like in relationships and stuff like that. But I'm trying to look to see like day to day. And I'm going to be going back into dating again because I'm single again. And like, I'm sure that there'll be stories that come up from that somewhat. Like, yeah, not just flaking on girls, but like, like literally like other things that pop up. Like one thing that is, and some health conditions it's easier to hide, right?
Yeah.
Eczema isn't so easy to hide. No. If you are nervous, or if you are, flaring up a little bit, or if you have had too many chilies or whatever, I don't even know what my triggers are. So sometimes I could just happen to have it. Yeah. And basically, I can imagine if I'm on a date with someone and then I just start scratching myself, it isn't very attractive, is it? And like that's the thing, isn't it? It's just kind of like, there's probably going to be funny moments that will come up in my life that I'm leaning into more, rather than before I used to just ignore my eczema. I used to just be like, oh, it's just something I got to deal with. But then I was like, why don't I turn this into something positive? Why don't I and also educate some people as well about eczema and what's involved with like managing a skin condition. It's not just putting some cream on yourself and going about your day. There's other elements to it as well.
No, it's good. I think it's an interesting way of. It's a bit of, like you say, a bit of self-therapy as well. And I guess there's various things that I've had that I want to bring out on stage and but I'm trying to work out how I can make them funny before they come out. And it's things like that that's.
I'll tell you this though, Marc.
They're interesting.
Like, if I did the eczema jokes, without, like, when I started doing my eczema jokes, actually, it wasn't really that funny. Like, this is the thing about comedy, is sometimes it's a developing process. Like, you're not really going to be able to get the funny out until you start speaking out loud. And in some ways, like, if you kind of try it and you have one joke. So fortunately, I had the Ramadan connection that helped me to be able to start the first joke. But actually, the jokes after that weren't that good because, again, I told you how I had to learn how to like explain it a bit better. Yeah. And then also the next part, the flaking stuff, again, I had to like word that properly so people would understand it's about women. So it's one of those things where the great thing about the open mic and about the circuit in general is that you are given that free license to bomb a little bit, to try a joke out that doesn't really work. but to then go up on stage and try something and be a bit more vulnerable with it. So that's something that I was struggling to do. The reason why I didn't probably do the eczema jokes was because in my head I'm like, oh, this is going to be lame. Like, this is just some health condition. Like, people aren't going to laugh at this. But then I started realizing that the more vulnerable you can make yourself on stage, yeah, you might bomb a bit more because you're trying out things that are really off the cuff or just not really to do with that, like something funny. But, you know, it can actually turn out later on the process, you can start having your best material from it. And you can have people coming up to you saying, hey, keep working on that joke. That's what helped me a lot with the eczema stuff. People would come up to me after and say, hey, like, that was really funny, but also I have eczema too, so I completely like understand what you're saying. Or they would say something like, yeah, like, I found that really funny how you like related it back to like religion and like Islam. And like they like that I do the Ramadan stuff too. Like, I have a joke about that Ramadan, that the 30 days. I also have another thing, but it's not something I'm probably looking to get rid of from my I didn't actually bring my props because I sometimes do prop comedy where I have props.
Okay.
And this is a joke in my set right now. I'm like, I keep using it because it's like something just stupid, like something just random that people can just laugh at me rather than with me, kind of thing. And I put on some sunglasses. I don't have them with me, but like, pretend I'm putting on some sunglasses, or like, and I say, I'm Muslim, and for 30 days a year, I go from being a playboy to, and then imagine this is a mosque hat, a prey boy. And basically, I like, it's just an off the cuff thing. It's actually from a meme that my friend found. He's like, yeah, someone was making a joke about how people in Ramadan, these guys, they just go from being playboys to prey boys.
Yeah.
And he just said, yeah, as an off the cuff thing. He didn't even think that I would even do that joke. He was just thinking, oh yeah, I'm just coming up with something for you. Because I was struggling before I went into Angel Comedy. I was like, oh, what joke can I come up with that's kind of going to be more relatable to all the audiences? And then he just told me that meme, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do that joke. And then since then, I've just been adding props to it. Like the sunglasses. I have now other sunglasses where I open them up rather than take them off. So when I do Prey Boy, I just open them up to make them normal glasses. I should have brought the prop, to be honest. But yeah. And that's just kind of a bit of the clown side of comedy that I've been trying to engage with a little bit more as well. Just to, like, you know, have a little bit of fun with it and have a little joke, banter and that.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
do you do any clown comedy in your stuff? Do you do anything like props?
If you've seen any of my very, very earlier stuff that I did, you'll probably understand it. Is that I wanted a way to connect with the audience that didn't involve me saying anything. Made me just kind of get. I've successfully managed to get a laugh now without saying a word whilst going on stage when I'm doing a proper set. And that is because when I was doing my comedy, this is the background. When I was doing my comedy course, every week we were asked about a topic about something. So it could be anything. It was, you know, it's like name something you've done this week or whatever. But there was one week we were asked, name somebody you look like, or you've been told you look like. So you get the usual things that go around a class, and I just I'm in front of 15 people, and I just said, probably from my early 20s, people just call me Badil.
Oh, David Badil.
Yeah, and everybody just looked at me and went, yeah. Even my very first ever Facebook profile picture is of David Badil, and everybody still knew who I was. So what I did was I started walking on stage with a T-shirt that said "Not David Badil," and but when I first started it, I would do like a reveal behind a hoodie or something like that. But then I experimented, and I decided I would go on stage with the T-shirt open and not reference it, and just see what happens. And
and you get delayed reactions probably. You get like some people laughing later, like noticing the shirt, like, wait a minute.
And it was a case of I actually put up a reel on my Instagram where I think there's probably somewhere between 10 and 15 seconds of me walking on stage and not saying a word and continuous laughter. And it's quite nice. But the downside to that is when it doesn't work. If you're in an audience where they don't know who he is, or they can't visualize the similarities we have, it kind of falls a bit flat and you feel a bit weird. But if you're doing it in an audience where you know, okay, the demographics about right, and they see it, and you get the laughter, and it kind of then it takes that initial pressure of having to tell a first joke to get a laugh, and then bring the audience with you. That visual thing allows the audience to go, I want to listen to this guy. He's made me laugh, and he's not said a word. It's that kind of thing. So it's I kind of ditched the idea for a little bit because I've changed sets slightly, but it's coming back into the set. I can imagine if I ever did like the King Gong at the comedy store, I'm just going just to stand on that stage and get that picture.
Yeah.
And that look and that feel of you're experiencing what you want to experience in the long term.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean. I mean, there's no disrespect to you guys that put on all the nights in various venues. It's difficult. But when you go to, I guess it's the difference between playing, if you're a musician, you play in a pub in the corner versus maybe playing at, I don't know, Hammersmith Apollo or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that level of, you get that feeling of what's going on. And you see people bomb, you see people die after 2 minutes. But for that 2 minutes, you look in their face, they're probably having a lot of fun. And it's quite interesting. I like that feeling. You get the experience of a professional environment for a period of time.
I am jealous of the people in London who get to do it at Backyard or whatever, like the Ultra Comedies. They actually go to an actual comedy club to perform. Whereas in Edinburgh, they don't have enough comedy clubs that would let them do that. So like basically, we had to go to some random nightclub in Edinburgh that's just not that great, and cold and everything. But you are still in front. You're not on a stage, but you are in front of a bunch of people, and you get like your photos, and you do get like some shots and things like that. And
you kind of go, shit, what have I walked into? And you've got sometimes you end up with quite a famous MC and stuff like that, and you're in that environment where you've got a sound desk and you can see this and everything's around you and
in the lights and all that.
And I realized going into it that my set isn't a gong ready set. I knew it wasn't, because it's too much of a story. So what I would need is I'd need people to give me the time of day to want to listen to it all, to actually get it. Unfortunately, the 4.5 minutes, I was about to hit what I class as my best punchline. And basically, that would round off the whole thing, and I got gonged off at that point, and it was just like so annoying. You've listened to 4.5 minutes of this stuff, and you've missed the best bit.
I find it difficult as a MC to be like, when do I flash their light? Because they're like in the middle of a punchline, and I'm like, well, how long is this punchline going to be? And I need to tell them that they've only got 1 minute left because I need to keep the show running. And then you're in this dilemma as an MC of like, when do I do that light? I don't want to throw them off. I don't want to, and also they just don't notice sometimes. I'm like flashing it everywhere and everything, and all that. So I've been exploring options technologically again. I think it's like my engineering brain that just kicks in with problems. I need to solve them. It's like I went online and I was like looking for remote vibrators. So that's why I typed in remote vibrators. Remote vibrating bands specifically, because the remote vibrators was a weird even remote vibrating bands were also coming up with some odd products.
I bet.
I would recommend you guys type in remote vibrators and see what happens.
Forever is your Amazon history destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah, we do an incognito tab. That's the thing. Like, all these sex toys are coming up. I'm like, come on. I went on Amazon. I'm like, come on, there must be something. The closest solution I've got is buying a smartwatch, right? Having a notification set up on it so that I can text it, and then that would vibrate it. And that I can also get I could text from WhatsApp and it would be a certain vibration. Then I could text from Telegram and that would be a different vibration. That's the only solution that I, in my engineering mind, have come up with to give a silent notification
Yeah.
to the comedian. Now, the one thing I would say is it might feel a bit weird because all of a sudden you're feeling a vibrate. Now, the thing
Yeah.
is it isn't loud and it isn't noticeable to the audience. And I think as a comedian, you would rather have a bracelet or a vibrating band. Ideally, the best technology solution, because I've mapped this all out in a business plan. The best technology solution would be a patch that you can wear on your chest that vibrates, so that you can basically feel it, but the audience doesn't see it, and you also don't have a visible thing on your wristband. I mean, it's a funny comedy prop in some ways. Like, you've got this ankle. It's like having an ankle bracelet on as a prisoner. Like, it's obvious that you're a prisoner because you've got the bracelet on. As a comedian, it's obvious that you're the comedian because you got the vibrating bracelet. So there is probably a business opportunity here that I'm now giving to the world through this podcast, and someone will be like, I'll make that easily enough. But anyways,
that's an interesting idea. That's a really
interesting idea. And the funny thing is that it's also applicable to other walks of life. It's not just comedy. It can be useful for, like, I have a funny anecdote of how my mum, right? I'd be sitting upstairs in my room as a kid, and I'm sure you maybe had this experience as well. I think all kids do, but South Asian mums are a different breed. Basically, I'm sitting upstairs, and I'm sitting there, I'm like playing a video game or something. I've got my headphones on, and I can just hear something like, I'm like, what's that sound? And I'm like, I take my headphones off, and I just hear my mum going, Imran! And I'm just like, oh my God, has my mum been screaming like 3-4 times already? And I couldn't hear her because I had my headphones on. And in my head, I'm just like, you know, that solution would be perfect. I know now most people have smartwatches, I guess. Yeah. And technically your mum could send a text message to your smartwatch and that could vibrate and you'd be like, oh, okay, I need to get downstairs. My mum's saying dinner's ready. Yeah. Whatever. But what I was just thinking is like, people don't want a smartwatch. Like, if anything, old people, they want something that's easier to understand. Like, when I say old people, like people who don't need the smartwatch facilities. Yep. But nowadays, even old people have smartwatches because it tracks their monitors, their health and everything and all that. But the main thing is vibrating bands, basically, in my head. I'm like, if I could just have something that I could program, like a walkie-talkie, where I could press a button and I could vibrate in different pulses that could let someone know Morse code. It's kind of like Morse code, but through vibrating. Yeah. Then, you know, you could use that as a tool of communication. Yep. It doesn't have to be comedy only. Like, there's other applications that you could apply. Yeah. And in my head, I'm just like, this happens to me a lot. Like, I go through phases where I'm like, I come up with a new business idea, and I'm like, oh, that would be really cool to do. And then I'm like, yeah, no, I don't have the time for that. And then I put it on my list. Or I come up with like a workaround solution or something, and I'm just like, I'll just work around it. So like the smartwatch thing, I actually have an old smartwatch, and I might be able to program it to be able to get it set up for this Saturday. Yeah. But the problem is I have to get the comedians. I only have one, so I'd have to get the comedians to take it off, give it to the next comedian, which is great. You'd want to have two in circulation so that you could have one person come off, the next person's already got the band on, they can come on, and then the person that just came off can hand it to the next person. It's like handing the baton around kind of thing. Yes, yeah, I get it. So you want to have rotation, and I haven't brought myself to actually go and invest in a band yet. I'm going to see how this night goes, and I'm going to use the spotlight as a change to see how the spotlight, a bit like Up the Creek where they do the blackout thing. I'm going to try doing the spotlight and see what I can do because I've got a remote for the spotlight, so I could actually press a button, change the color. Yeah, that might work.
There was an interesting one I saw at Angel actually, because the one thing I've always had an issue with that with the flashing of the light is that they'll say, I'll flash you at 4 minutes if you're doing your 5 minutes, then I'll flash you at 5 again if you're still on. But sometimes you don't know if you're getting the first flash or the second flash.
Yes.
And what the guy did when I did a gig at Angel was he had on his phone, it would be like a white background was his flash to you to say 1 minute left. But then if it then went red, it was 5 minutes are done. So you immediately know, okay, if I'm on that red, I'm got 5 seconds and I'm out.
The thing is about Angel Comedy is they make you really scared about it. So if you go over I don't know if you actually got this. I maybe got this from a comedian and maybe they didn't give it in the materials. But I was told by this comedian that if you go over the 5, they're not going to book you back on, because you've not respected the allotment that you've been given. And that if they show you the red, that basically means enjoy your last set at Angel Comedy. And I'm like, really? Are they that strict? Like, come on. But in the end, I was so nervous going into that gig that I did below 5. I don't even remember seeing the light. I was just like, right, I've managed to hit below 5, so I'm happy. Like, I looked at my recording and I was like, oh, thank God. Like, because in my head, I was just thinking, oh man, like if I go over, because this comedian made me really nervous before, and I was just like, and he also said you have to be more prepared and ready. You have to have your best material. And in my head, I'm like, oh no, is it like I need to actually be prepared for a comedy gig for once? Damn it, man. I was already prepared, but he made me more stressed because he was like, yeah, you need to get like good material. Your best material is an international audience, so you need to like be able to like don't do any like crude jokes. So I was like, oh man, all my jokes are crude. So I was just like going through my gig, being like, oh well, what do I get rid of? Got rid of my halal porn stuff. So yeah, like
that talk about your best jokes. That kind of brings me on to kind of the last topic of this the podcast, and it's to do with this little book. It's called The Little Book of Shit Jokes by Sid Finch. And what I'm asking every comedian that appears on this is to pick a joke from this book and then put it into their set and then record it, put it on the socials and tag us. The only thing is you get to pick the joke, but we don't know what the joke is. You have to give me a number between 5 and 95, and at random, that's your joke. You can change the joke. The joke premise has to stay the same, but maybe the characters change to fit however you want to do it.
Mm.
So it's a little bit of a creative thing to do at some point in the future, if you're up for it.
Oh man! So I have to just give you a number.
A number between 5. And the other thing is, if you pick a number that's already been picked, you pick again, because no two comedians should have the same joke.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah, that makes it more fair to like. Yeah. Well, my favorite number is 4, but you said it has to be above 5. So
yeah.
The natural one would be 44, but then I do. Yeah. Okay, we'll go 44.
Go with your instinct. Okay.
Yeah. Has anyone done 44?
No. You have there's 2 jokes on this page as well. So you get to pick either joke 1 or joke 2. Remember though, these are it's the little book of shit jokes. Remember that. So what you're about to hear. So give me a number between 1 and 2.
Oh, so in page 44
has 2 jokes on it.
Man. Because they could just be like, well, they're probably both equally as shit, but I'll go for number 1. Let's go number 1.
Your joke that I'd like you to say on stage at some point in the near future and record and tag us is, did you hear about the bed that ended up with a compulsory tidy owner? It was made for life.
Compulsory tidy owner?
Yeah, it was made for life.
I don't understand the first part of that joke. Compulsory tidy. So they're basically saying the person's like super tidy.
Yeah, so did you hear about the bed?
Oh, it's made for life. Oh, I get it now. Oh, man. You know what's funny is that in my last relationship, I was notorious for not making the bed. And this was something that I had to learn because I was like a bit lazy at the start. I'd be like, oh, I'll make the bed later because I'm going to go back in it or whatever. Or, oh, I'll just do it later. And she was just drilling into me being like, no. And also she had a specific way of making the bed that I had to remember. And I'm just like, oh man, like I could work this into that stuff and be like, I'm not looking forward to dating again because of that.
Yeah. You can work it however you want to work it in. I just think it's a little bit of fun. It's a bit of creativity.
Yeah, that's great.
It's improv stuff as well in a weird kind of way.
It is. It's basically random. Like I did not know that. I promised to the viewers and audience I had no idea that it would be something so relatable to me. Just shows you how shit my life is, but yeah.
But no, that kind of that's I think it's a nice little rounding to this episode. So if you can just let us know or let the audience know where they can find you on your socials and stuff, and I'll tag these in the posts and on the podcast description as well.
Yeah. So my personal social is on Instagram, and I used to have like a name that was just standard, and then I was like, how can I make this funny? And my name is Imran Hafeez, Hafeez. So naturally, I'm at Imran Hafeez.
Very clever. Very clever.
Very, very easy for me to do. Things just work out for me in life, it seems. But yeah, Imran Hafeez. And I never actually explained why I call it Square Go Comedy. So my comedy night is called Square Go Comedy.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what Square Go means, I'm from Scotland, and that's a phrase that we would joke around about, but also it became something quite serious somewhat, because it's a method to start a fight. So
okay.
if you want to fight someone in Scotland, you could say, "Oh, come square go. Oh, come on, man, square go." Like, isn't
Gotcha.
like let's square up.
Yeah.
Let's get into like a boxing kind of thing. So square go, and that's where the logo came from, because I wanted to do like that kind of element. That's where the competition came from too. So it actually all kind of derived from that element of like, you know, we're all square going, and then the reason for top 4 was because of 4 corners in a square. So yeah,
I got it.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll find that at Square Go Comedy if you just type it all one word.
And does it run every month or every month?
So every fortnight I'm working on. I'm looking to open up a new venue as well, because I've had a lot of interest. There's also a locals group. I recommend people download Locals. It's a really great app. You're able to find all these different socials that are on in your area. I have a lot of participants on there, and some of them, they do want to make friends too. So I try to make my comedy night also a bit social in that sense of I try to encourage the people. I get the people who are from Locals put their hands up, and, you know, so that they can all see who they are and that they're all people. They're kind of trying to make friends. So that's also called Square Go Comedy. And right now it's every fortnight at the Blighty Cafe, which is on Blackstock Road, about a couple of minutes away from Finsbury Park Station. So really easy to get to, Victoria Piccadilly line. But I am looking to open up another venue hopefully soon, and I'll keep in touch when you put up the post. We can also put up if I have a new venue by then. But otherwise, it's every second Saturday, and our next one is, I don't know if I'll be out by then, but 13th of January is the next one coming up. Then it's 27th, and then I have the 10th of February. 27th of January. Then I've got the 10th of February, and I've got the 20. That'll be 2 weeks after, 24th of February as well. So that's the dates that I've confirmed. But what I'm hoping to do is to just keep doing it every 2 weeks. So if you can't make it for any of those dates, just keep on the socials, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to keep that going. Even during Ramadan, I'll just get guest MCs to run the night, and I'll attend with my food to break my fast with. But probably not perform, because I won't have the energy if I'm fasting. So, but yeah.
And you can find us at Open Mic Comedy Pod on Instagram, and all the W's, openmiccomedypod.com. We're in your ears on pretty much every podcast platform. So if you're on there, please give us a 5-star review or a 0-star. None of the in between. They mean nothing. Follow, subscribe, and do all of that stuff, and share it with some people that you think might be interested in this, especially up and coming comedians and people that want to get onto the circuit. So lastly, thank you, Imran, for your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Marc.
Stay funny on stage, and we shall see each other very soon. So until next time, everyone, please keep listening.